It's time for the City Skylines review for the PC. I originally planned to review this on the PS4, which I've owned for years, but I bought it again on PC for like $2, and honestly, this type of game is easier to review on the PC, so let's see how it turned out. This review will only focus on the base vanilla game, as I don't have any of the DLC for it, but the DLC is important and I'll talk about it a little later. Some of you may know I really enjoy Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I thought this game might be similar. You are the mayor of an upstart town, and it's your job to build and grow it to the best it can be. The main way of doing this is to attract people to live and have jobs here. This is the fundamentals of establishing your town, but first things first, you have to have basic infrastructure to achieve this. In the beginning of each level, you'll have a fixed sum of money to build roads, as well as electric and water utilities. Don't get sidetracked by the customization you can have with your roads. You want to build a simple neighborhood, but also have enough funds to build electric and water sources, otherwise your initial citizens will get upset and leave. I learned this the hard way and had to reset. Growing your city earns you unlockable assets determined by the population milestones you hit. When you first begin, it can be a bit tricky in figuring out the proper method of gaining citizens at a steady rate. The game can be quite complex, and understanding how to balance everything is part of the main challenge. When I first played, I thought I was going to be able to build houses in various retail shops where I wanted. Well, this is only half true. You don't get to pick and choose these types of buildings, as they are automatically built when you zone the neighborhoods to specific types. So that was unfortunate, but there are still a good handful of different types of buildings you can build, but they consist of government buildings, utilities, medical, transportation, and basically utilitarian types. There are special buildings such as stadiums, which can attract more people to live in your city, as well as beautifying assets such as parks and playgrounds. I like that you could create your own walkways for your citizens and plant many different types of foliage. You can place any type of building anywhere, but I like to group themed buildings together, such as schools near the library, the police and fire stations near each other, and elder care near the parks. Speaking of parks, I didn't like that I was forced to always connect them to a street. I wish I could have placed them in an open field and built a grand outdoor park with pathways and gardens to walk through. You apparently can with the DLC pack, but I think this should have been standard in the base game. In addition to new buildings and assets to increase your city's value, you also gain access to setting government policies and taxes. There are many different options and tools available, which was appreciated, and testing out various policies will get the attention of your citizens. They'll give you feedback in the form of a chirp, which is this game's version of Twitter, or X, or oh my gosh, who cares? Listening to your citizens can be crucial, especially if your policies aren't that popular. The graphics look fine, nothing spectacular, but for a game like this, what we got works well. I like that you had the option to turn off dynamic weather settings, as yes, it can add to the overall ambiance, but I found it more annoying than anything. The controls are quite easy, as it's mostly point and click. However, I wish there was a back button, so to speak. When you're in an asset menu, I wish you could right-click or press a key to go back through the menu instead of having to exit it completely. There are a few workarounds to this, but only in specific instances, and it would have just been easier if there was a dedicated back button. Your initial block of land will get filled up pretty quickly, and so it's time to expand by purchasing adjacent blocks. Picking a block that has natural resources can benefit your overall revenue, and I like that you could not only zone neighborhoods for industrial use, but specifically set these areas as districts that are specialized in the natural resource you're sitting on. Like here, I set this area as an oil district, which in turn makes all my industrial buildings be specifically used for extracting and using the oil. I found out the hard way that your industrial complexes are dependent on outside sources. That is, your imports and exports are from shipments to and from the pre-existing highway when you began the game, which means if the delivery trucks are stuck in heavy traffic, your industrial buildings have a good chance of going out of business because the trucks can't get to their destinations quick enough. You can easily bulldoze an abandoned building and a new one will pop up soon after, but avoiding this problem to begin with is better. To help the trucks get to your buildings, you can upgrade your existing roads so they have more lanes for traffic, but this is a band-aid fix that isn't sustainable and will jank up your intersections. It also destroys your existing buildings to make way for the widened road, but traffic will ultimately build back up again due to people moving in. A better option is to build direct roads from the highway to your industrial neighborhoods, and better still is to build a new exit from the highway. Figuring out the height of the roads can be a bit tricky, and again with building an on-ramp, so if you have access and the funds to a pre-built interchange, just do this as it's much simpler. A bigger city means more resources to keep it going, which means you'll need to invest in more electric plants, or at least wind and hydro sources, as well as making sure enough water and sewage lines are built. I like that once a building had established electricity, neighboring buildings will gain electricity as well, which means you don't have to clutter up your streets with power lines everywhere. They're really only needed if you're first starting a neighborhood, or if you have a lone building away from everything else. Water and sewage pipes are easy to install, as you only need to draw where you need these lines to be in the neighborhoods. There are elevation tools, which, if you have the patience to learn, can further your plans for the type of city you want. Special assets, such as a dam to not only provide electricity, but also serve as a road is really neat, but make sure you install it in the right areas, or else you might end up flooding your neighborhoods. The base game gives you a handful of areas to start fresh and build your city in environments that are technically different from each other, but not by too much. This is where I'll talk about the DLC. The vanilla game is fine, and there's not too much to complain about, but it feels like there should be more, and apparently there is. There are many different DLC packs to increase not only the assets you can use, but special functions of the game are available, such as not having to place parks and playgrounds on roads only, or being able to use the natural resources for in-town businesses that require these types. So what I'm trying to say is that the base game is overall good, but I feel like it doesn't have much lasting appeal, and the certain elements I wish I had are locked behind specific DLCs. If you want to experience what the game can truly offer, I believe the DLCs is what you'll want, but if you don't need any extras, Vanilla City Skylines has enough to provide a good amount of fun. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5 with the title of good.